Call the December meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order at 7:30 on the dot. With that, of course, our emergency exits, as we all know, in this large audience that's in the room with us tonight. The stairway to, I'm being facetious, the stairway to the side where most of us came down goes out to the rear parking lot on Tyler City Road side of the building, or if you go straight out the back hallway, it leads you out to the firehouse on Orange Center Road. Or if you go up the stairs behind the wall that the clock hangs on and out the doors, that'll put you out onto Orange Center Road. Those are our emergency exits. With that, we'll stand and pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we have roll call next, and I'd like to start roll call tonight with our newest member of the Board of Selectmen, Mrs. Julia Williams.
Hi, I'm Judy Williams.
Anthony Nastri.
Good evening, Joe Blake.
Vincent Moreno, Town Attorney.
Ann Petty, Secretary.
Ralph Okenquist?
Mitch Goldblatt.
Very good. Everybody's here. At this time, we go to public participation. Is there anybody in the room that wishes to speak on a public participation item? And those are items that are not on the agenda, and you have a 2-minute time limit to speak on those. Mr. Klotz.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alan Klotz, 821 Tall Timber Road in Orange. 2 months ago, I had written a letter to the Town of Orange Board of Selectmen concerning the presence of roosting pigeons at the town transfer station, and in my opinion, it poses a potential respiratory health problem for the town employees working there. Can the selectmen tell me what has happened to my letter?
We read it. We're looking at repairing the whole facility there, so at this time, everything is staying. Mr. Lieberman has actually worked on parts for the pusher and all at the bottom, and he's also gotten estimates and all because we have some major repairs that need to be made to that shelter, and we'll do it at that time. But there really isn't much we can do about pigeons unless you're willing to come down there and, you know what I mean?
No, Jim. No, so long as the selectmen received the letter
Oh, yeah,
and
I
have
did.
considered it.
Did everybody else?
I don't remember any letter.
I think it was included in your, it was in your packet either a month or 2 months ago. Yeah.
Okay.
I read it.
Thank you.
Yes, and
Okay.
we are looking to rebuild that facility. It's in dire need of some repairs, and even then, yeah, some people say that owls or these fake snakes or different things will scare them away, but really, short of you know what, it's hard to
Yes,
you know,
understood.
get rid of them.
Okay,
So, but
thank
we
you.
do know they're there, and we're working on it. Okay. Anybody else for public participation? If not, we have this month's announcements. We've done very well with our collection upstairs of food and toys. Also, there's a box there put by Senator Schlossberg for clothing and all for veterans for the home in Rocky Hill. And also, we've had cash donations come in for the fuel bank, which is also administered by Community Service. So we're still accepting food donations and toys and clothing for veterans, new please for clothing, and also cash for the fuel program at Community Service. Been a very generous season, and we're very thankful to all the people who have come with that. The Festival of Trees at Laurel Gardens is tomorrow, Thursday, December 13th, from 7 to 9 p.m. I haven't heard yet if that may be subject to change due to inclement weather. Did they call you by chance? I didn't hear from them today from Lou. At this point, it's still on. It's the best I can tell you. We do have holiday hours. Holiday hours are changing, coming up in the next couple weeks. Monday, December 24th, all town offices are to be closed with the exception of the transfer station, which is open till 4:30. Tuesday, December 25th, all offices are closed. Monday, December 31st, town offices will close at 1 p.m. and the transfer station will be open till 4:30. Tuesday, January 1st, all offices are closed. Emergency services are always available. Don't be confused and think that they're going home. Emergency services are available. And also, there is another blood drive going on. It's the Friends of Katie Winkle. And it's a blood drive to help replenish the blood supply during the holiday season. It's January 12th at the community center from 8:30 to 2:30. However, there was such overwhelming support last time that people had to be turned away, which is really a bad thing, but unfortunately there were just so many people. So appointments are encouraged, and I have a phone number to call to make an appointment. It's 203-668-7099. Walk-ins are welcome, but there's only so many technicians and bed spaces available, so if you can make an appointment, and that's again the Friends of Katie Winkle, and they want to help replenish the blood supply during this holiday season. And with all that said, I'd like to wish everybody out there on behalf of the town of Orange and the Board of Selectmen a happy and healthy holiday season, a happy Hanukkah, or a Merry Christmas, or what other holiday you may celebrate. But please keep it safe and friendly for all. With that, we'll move on. Mitchell.
Just a quick one, and
Yes.
not response, just to add on to the Katie Winkle blood drive.
Go ahead.
For those that either aren't able to make it that particular day, or if it does get overrun, of course, they'll be kind of anticipating that. There's also a blood drive on January 4th at the Orange Congregational Church from, I think it's 1:30 to 6. So
That one I don't know.
if that's a better time for people, or if it gets
What day?
it's January 4th. It's actually before the one for
Okay.
Katie. I mean, the blood all goes to the same place, and for those that can donate, and that's a better time, I hope they will as well.
It's a better time. Oh. I thought-
If it was a better time.
Okay, I understand. Okay, with that said, can we have discussion or approval of the minutes of our November 14th meeting, the unapproved minutes?
Motion to approve as submitted.
Okay, is there a second to that? Second. Okay, Goldblatt, then Nastri. Is there any more discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor? Okay, you would abstain this time. You would abstain because you were not with us. Okay, so it will be 5-1. Well, 5 and 1 abstention. Yeah. 5-0-1. Thank you for that. Okay, old business. The Cott Land Record System Agreement, Patrick O'Sullivan, Town Clerk.
Good evening.
Hello, Patrick.
In your packet was a memo to all of you, and at the October 10th meeting, I presented a contract, and it was the incorrect one. What had happened was this. COT Systems gave me a contract during the month of July. I then went out and looked at a couple other town clerks' offices that had some additional add-ons that we were very impressed with. Both the town clerk's staff and the finance director went up to one of the valley towns, and with the contract there was the additional cash box or cash register attachment. And after discussing it with the finance director, I called COT and got the additional price. And I think that we can work it in our budget, and what I'd like you to do is, as in the memo, just approve or amend your approval from 2 months ago from $1,811 per month up to $1,879 per month. And I think I also gave you with the orange tabs where the additional new hardware, services, and maintenance are involved. I gave you the actual contract this time. So I apologize for the mistake. It was an oversight.
So moved.
Okay, and
Point of order. Do we have to,
microphone first.
Vince, do we have to make a motion to rescind our previous
Or
order?
you could amend, you're amending.
Or
your-
amending, not to rescind our previous
could amend
action?
it.
Yeah.
What's the best?
It's just an amendment to the prior.
Okay, all right.
Either way is proper, but I think the motion was to amend.
Oh.
So that's,
Okay, so Selectman Nastri, I believe, made the motion to
The
amend,
motion-
amend the,
Yeah, amend the prior motion to increase it from $1,811 per month to $1,879 per month.
Yes.
okay, very good. And a second on that, Selectman Goldblatt. Okay, is there any more discussion?
Thank you.
Opposed, abstained, unanimous. There you go, Patrick. I think we got it straight now. Okay, this is the fuel-efficient vehicle ordinance. Did anybody want to open up for, did you review it, and anybody want to open for discussion?
if I could just explain.
Go ahead.
Last month, what we had discussed was, you requested that I revise what was originally presented to you to incorporate our comments, not only from the table, but from the floor. And I did that, but in doing so, I also did some additional research. So what I provided to you tonight was the original ordinance as presented, which we'll call version 1, that's your first copy. And then versions 2 and 3 incorporate that discussion, and the crossouts as you go on to version 2 and version 3 are the changes that we had discussed. Version 3 essentially being a simpler ordinance that really just incorporates everything into a high mileage motor vehicle definition. When I was doing this, and discussing it further with my associate who had done the research, we were concerned that if you made it too restrictive as version 3 as opposed to version 1, you would actually omit all vehicles that are currently being manufactured, because no vehicle that is manufactured today would be eligible for the exemption. So it would be an ordinance with no effect, because a person can't go out and buy a vehicle to comply. And what I did then is I ran the 2006, 2007. I actually just went into Google and typed in fuel efficiency vehicles, and that's what's attached to the last 2 pages. And it gives you a breakdown of make and models that might be eligible. And the other concern was if you made it too restrictive, you're really kind of funneling people to purchase a specific car, as opposed, you have to have a Toyota Prius in order to be eligible for this exemption. And you can see that because I think the thought process was you wanted to make this where it was really the best environmentally focused ordinance out there. So you wanted to keep it focused on, I think the suggestion from the floor was city miles per gallon. And that would really, if it was, I think, 50 miles per gallon and higher, the only make and model, at least as of 06 and 07, that would be eligible would be the Toyota Prius. So you're really going to be limiting those people who would be eligible for the exemption, which is something which in your right to do if you want.
Would it make sense possibly to drop the city miles maybe to 35 or 32 even? I mean, just looking at this listing, there
Well-
doesn't seem to be a lot of cars that are, 40 miles, city miles.
Right. Your floor would be what the statute requires. You could make it more restrictive than the statute, not less restricted. And the statute allows for, it's 40 miles per gallon. So you couldn't go down to 32, but you could go up to 50.
Can't go below
You
40.
can't go below 40.
But it's definitely city miles?
No, it's, the way
We
the statute
did
is,
it.
the way the statute is, it's city or highway. Right, and what I believe what the gentleman from the floor was saying, well, wait a second, that's, we want to be really environmentally focused. And I think, looking at the legislative history from Hartford, they were saying, well, this is an incentive to people to push them toward going to fuel-efficient vehicles, and not going into cost of these vehicles, which I did not look at. But, I don't know if you as a board want to be pushing people toward a certain make and model, which if you really limit yourself, that's what you're going to be doing. And again, it's within your right to do so as long as you make it more restrictive. But you just have to realize the effect might be that no one's going to be able to take advantage of this.
There's 6 different varieties here, or types here that, according to this, do qualify. And at the 40.
At the 40, but you were making it, I believe it was 50. You wanted to make it,
Thought we,
you're
excuse me,
40.
it says 40.
I don't think we ever changed it to 50. I think we changed it
It says
to
40 right
we
here.
did 40.
Under the city miles, you'd be limited to the Toyota Camry, the Honda Civic, and the Toyota Prius,
Right.
which was your '07 vehicles.
Correct.
But then go to the second page and you have
Those are
1, 2,
2006.
3 more.
Except, I don't know that from a data standpoint, those were '06 models, so I didn't have really what we'd be talking about is '08.
Okay, I see. I remember when there was that part of the discussion. Yeah, encouraging people to buy new. All right.
Question, does the statute specifically state gasoline mileage? Because it rules out diesels.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, the second one says, any internal combustion or heat engine using combustible and rechargeable. The hybrid passenger car one, second one?
Yeah, but that's out.
Yeah, the really, where the board was going to would be version 3. I gave you each version
Okay.
so that you could direct me which version you wanted to go with. So you can pick option A, B, or C. Option C is really where you had directed me last time. And I just think you should deliberate, do you want to put something out there that's so restrictive that's going to be,
Go for it.
that people are going to be eligible, but it's going to be fewer people? Or do you want to encourage people or reward people for at least going in that hybrid direction, which is what the legislative history showed Hartford was really trying to do, is just people to take that initiative to start thinking environmentally friendly.
I thought we were broadening it by taking that out.
No, you're restricting it by going from city or highway to just city, you're making it more restrictive.
I thought our intent of this whole thing's was to get people interested in going for the cars for
what I
the fuel
thought.
efficiency. That's what I got out of it.
Yep.
That's the direction I thought we were trying to obtain here. Am I hearing different tonight here?
No, but remember, as you make things more restrictive, you're narrowing the universe of eligibility.
And if I can speak, I don't have a problem with the way it's been, Vinnie's version 3, or C, whatever you're calling it there, because I think it does take into consideration what we discussed last time, was city miles, being restrictive, encouraging people to buy cars, whether they were hybrids or not, and if Detroit and the other places can get their act together and get us cars that are getting 40 miles to the gallon, that's what they should be doing. I'm okay with number 3. Anthony mentioned diesel. You're saying that it's not allowed by statute to include diesel, because that question came to me, as did, while I'm asking the question, as did a question of motorcycles, and that motorcycles get more than 40 miles a gallon.
No.
And the question was posed to me about this ordinance, diesels, as Anthony's already raised, and motorcycles, and I wanted your take on that.
Right. The definition is limited to passenger cars. So motorcycles would definitely be
out.
out by definition. Diesel would be out under the high mileage motor vehicle because it's talking about gasoline mileage rating, which you're not gonna have with the diesel engine. I don't even think a diesel car would fit under a hybrid passenger car definition if you were to leave that in, because that definition includes a car that draws acceleration energy from 2 sources. I guess arguably you could have a hybrid diesel,
To
but
have a diesel engine in the hybrid.
If you look at
More efficient than the gasoline at my pump is.
my question is this, though. If you look at the 2006 models, and look at numbers 4, 5, and 6, all of which are Volkswagens, the fuel there is diesel, and they do have a highway rating. Now, admittedly, they're not at 40, but presuming that those vehicles were, instead of 37, were at 40 or 40 or above, I would think that they would qualify. And that's a question I think we should have an answer to in some form before we, even if we take, I'm not saying hold this up to going to public hearing, but as long as before we go to public hearing, we have an answer whether those particular vehicles would qualify if those vehicles or ones like them reach 40 miles a gallon. I would think they would, but maybe you need some interpretation from Hartford on their intent in that too, Vinnie.
I mean, sometimes you don't want to get the answer from Hartford, because
Found that out before.
yes, and quite frankly, looking at section 110 of the statute, it provides that, let's see, the sale of any passenger car that has a US EPA estimated city or highway gasoline mileage rating of at least 50, well, it says
yeah.
here 50 stricken out, it's 40 miles per gallon. So as long as the vehicle has a gasoline mileage rating of at least 40 miles per gallon, it should be eligible. That would be my interpretation without,
I think they should have said a fuel mileage or something like that, I think. I think that if it's a diesel vehicle that gets the distance just the same as a gasoline vehicle that gets the distance. Personally, that's only my opinion. I mean, I'm not a car.
In the hybrid
developer.
description, they start talking about an engine that uses a combustible fuel,
Right.
you know, as a heat source. That would, yeah, and diesels do qualify, but the end of it says with an estimated gasoline mileage rating of at least 40. So they
you
do
need-
qualify it again, so that the beginning sentence up above, under high mileage motor vehicle, where it says estimated city or highway gasoline mileage, still applies
Yeah,
in
their
both
intent-
cases. So
their
by
intent
eliminating
was-
the hybrid paragraph, you're still limiting it to gasoline mileage, if that's the way
Yeah.
the statute reads.
That was their intent, I think, with the statute, was gasoline, period. You might want to check on that before we put this on the, for public hearing. So next month, just have an answer for us on that. Are any other problems with it other than that?
Now, I would make a motion then that we take version 3 or C, whichever one, the one that just had the one paragraph under definitions,
Okay.
to public hearing at our next regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen meeting in January.
Well, don't you want to wait till he gets a determination on that, or you just want to
I
go
figure
with
I
gasoline?
think he'll have that answer by January. We can answer it at the public
Okay,
hearing.
all right. Mr. Klotz wants to speak. You have to come up front, Al. Yep.
I'd like to clarify something and make a comment also. Concerning diesels, to my, I guess, limited knowledge here, the idea of including them is great. Mitch, you're absolutely right. But for the next 2 years, I don't think it'll be relevant. Volkswagen's doing a great job. Mercedes is working marvelously. I think that's where Anthony was coming from, with diesel engines to make them very efficient and to reintroduce them to the United States next year. But from what I've seen, they will not attain even close to the 40 miles per gallon city, maybe close to the 40 highway. So I think that consideration would probably come up for the inclusion of diesels would probably come up at the sunset provision date here, in about another 2 years. So I think it'd be best to defer that or work on the problem with the idea of renewing this. The other thing is, I guess version C, the very short version, is great, but I think you want to take out, under the exemption granted in the second sentence, the words "or hybrid."
I just struck it out, actually.
Oh, you did?
I just struck it out. I just saw that.
Okay, I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's unnecessary because you would be including them anyway under the definition of high mileage.
Yeah, actually, just for the board, if you look, I'm striking the words "or hybrid passenger car," and I'm also striking "or section 115," because I don't want to refer anyone to the general statutes, which would then expand our definition. So it's just going to be section 110 of the general statutes, which is the high mileage motor vehicle definition.
Great. Thank you very much.
Very good. Anybody else out there who'd like to speak on it? Anybody here? Yes, Mitchell?
Vinnie, when you've done that, is the definition high mileage motor vehicle part of the state statutes that way? Or should we be calling it high mileage passenger car to get away, to clarify the question I had before?
The Section 110 of the general statutes is identical to the one that you're adopting, except that it's city or highway.
Okay.
We're striking the words or highway.
With that said, do we have a motion to send this to public hearing next month? Okay, motion by Mitch, second by Ralph. Okay, isn't any more discussion on it? Hearing none, that will be a public hearing item at our January meeting. Very good. Under new business, item 1 is town policies, a town debt policy and practice, town fund balance policy and practice, and a town investment policy and practice. Finance Director Pam Mangini and Town Treasurer Al Chiaranzelli.
Good evening.
Good evening. First of all, you had a new investment policy submitted to you today, which was the actual one that was adopted. If you look at the old one, it said submitted to the Board of Finance. The new one is the one that was adopted. There were some minor changes in this. We struck the names of the specific banks on the top, and then the very last sentence has been modified to take out the histrionics about the basis points and whatever else have you, which really was not pertinent to the policy at that point in time. So that's the change in that. The other two are as submitted to you. It has really been my intent since I came back here in April of 2006 to make an effort to secure a AA1 rating for the town of Orange. We've been AA2 for several years. At one time, the town was AA3. We've made a significant improvement to get from AA3 to AA2, and we're now in the throes of trying to get from AA2 to AA1, which is really where I believe we belong. When Pam came on in October of 06, she and I had discussed this, and she was very much in sync with what the earlier thinking had been. So over the last couple of years, 21 months exactly, we've done everything we could to eliminate the negative audit management comments and to strengthen budgetary and fiscal oversight and to improve our investment and funding strategies. Among the issues that Moody's looks at, and they're the rating agency that rates the town, is the adoption of these 3 specific policies. The Board of Finance has adopted them, and they join with Pam and I tonight in encouraging you to ratify these policies. We will be bringing to you strengthened financial policies and financial management policies, which include procurement and expenditure controls as we get to the summer of '08 this year. As a result of the activity for the last few years that we've undertaken here, the fact that our tax base is growing in Orange and our debt levels are better than average and our earnings per capita are better than the state rank, Moody's has reaffirmed our rating at a AA2 and granted us a positive outlook. Essentially, a positive outlook serves as a message to investors that an upgrade to AA1 is probable within the next 18 to 24 months. So we're going to distribute copies of the memo that we have from IBIC, who's our financial advisors, Mike McKinnon, and also an excerpt from the Moody's report relative to positive outlook, which indicates the things that we need to do to secure that rating. Other than bragging rights, there's also a strong financial component to a AA1 bond rating,
Yeah.
and that is that you have a better
Yeah, it should
shot
be
at getting
4
a
of them,
lower
or
interest
3 of
rate.
them.
It could be as much as 25 basis points, 30
You have
basis
extra.
points.
Yeah.
The differential between AA2 and AA1. The adoption of these policies is critical to that goal, to accomplishing that goal. I think it's very important that we get to AA1. Every towns around us are AA1 that are not quite as strong as we are, in fact. So we have a real good shot at this. So we would like very much for you guys to ratify, and ladies, to ratify the policies that the Board of Finance adopted.
You have a top limit of 7% debt service to a total budget.
Right.
What are we running now? Is it
We're
around
running
4?
probably around 3,
3?
quarter, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
there's plenty of room there.
Yeah. Right.
Again, these are policies. They can be abrogated if we,
No, it's what,
Right.
but the 7% is, there are many communities that are far in excess of that.
oh, yes, indeed.
And
Yes,
so the
indeed.
7% is conservative, but relative to our 3%, it sounds high.
Yeah, and really what it does is it gives us enough running room. If we have to build another school, for example, we need to be within town. We have to be able to have enough borrowing power to engender that.
Have you talked with Mike McKenna about, are there any outstanding debts that we have bonding that we could refinance at the lower rate right now?
We do have a few, but the reality of the matter is our debt right now is so low that refunding them at this stage of the game is probably not cost effective.
Even though the
When we
interest
look at
rates,
that-
even though the interest rates look like they're dropping here a
The interest
little
rates look
bit.
like they're dropping, but again, you're looking at federal funds rate and we're looking at municipal bond rates, and there's a big difference between the two. The latest one we got at 3.97, 3,000,009 that went out. Anything under 4 in this economy is an excellent rate. And the positive outlook from Moody's is what probably helped to drive that rate.
That was a very interesting process, meeting with the
Yeah,
people from Moody's and going through that, and their questions and answers and hoops to jump through. It was a learning experience for me, that was for sure.
it's an interesting process, and really, they did about a 2.5-hour meeting on Orange, and came out of that with a positive outlook. That may sound like a minor thing, but in this economy, with all the subprime mortgage difficulties that are facing us out there, that's a really pretty significant move. Because what it says is in 18 months, if we do what we said we're going to do, and we adhere to those practices, it will be AA1. That'd be a nice feather in our cap.
And it was interesting, their comments on fund balance. When we told them where our fund balance currently is, and asked them where should it be, they said, where it is good.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah,
spend
yeah,
it. You know,
yeah.
remember those?
More is good, some is better.
They
yeah.
were very happy with where it was, even though, it may be considered high, they were very happy with it.
But we
Well,
put
I-
a fund balance floor at 12.5% in here.
Yeah, and that's 45 days of
Exactly.
expenditure,
Exactly.
which, my guideline was always 1 to 2 months
Yep.
of expenditures.
So that's right in the
which-
line.
When you look at $6.5 million, you say, well, that's a lot of money. The two factors are that the $6.5 million are effectively invested, and that reduces mill rate when you maximize the revenue on that amount of money.
That's correct.
And the second thing, it's only 45 days of expenditures. And when you run into situations like we did with the Amity deficit, you need that reserve in order to cover you where budgets are being rejected, and you're legally obligated to fund a school system even though a budget isn't approved.
We will be this year, based on some preliminary work that Pam and I have done, significantly higher than the 12.5%.
Oh, yeah.
So. Any other questions? Any other
Discussion, questions?
concerns?
Yes, Mitchell?
Quick question, it may only just concern a
who?
single word for Al.
Okay.
Or Pam. Our credit rating, we've often talked about, and you have tonight, Moody's. You have in here on page 2 of the first policy, credit ratings that we actually sought from Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch. Do we actually go after all three, or should that and be an and/or just an or?
Moody's is the lead,
Yeah.
and what happens with the others, depending on the size of the issue that you're going out, they can then come into play. Standard & Poor's and
So we
Fitch.
do seek their credit ratings from all three?
We do seek them from all three. Moody's, however, is primary.
The lead.
Primary.
Okay.
They're the lead.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification.
Sure. Anything else for Ms. Mangini or Mr. Chiaranzelli? Anything? Nothing? Ralph? Judy? Joe?
I think they've done a great job here in putting this together, and they should be honored for the work they've put in. I know it's not part of your normal daily activity, and takes extra time to do stuff like this, and I think...
Nice to have a good team. We make a good team.
And I think the board appreciates that.
They have a team that
Not
works.
too much.
Okay, with that all said, you can either make a motion to adopt these one at a time, or you can make a motion to adopt, list and state all three policies and do it at once, if everybody's in
I
agreement
move
with
that we
that.
adopt all three policies as presented.
Okay,
And I second.
okay. Nastri, we'll give it to Williams this time, Mitch. I don't think she doesn't have one yet, so we have to give it to her. Yeah, that's true, she's newest. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed, abstain, unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Very good, now you can go home and have dinner.
Yay, thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, number 2 is the 5-year Community Improvement Program Revision 1 for FY '07-08. And, Jesus, Ed, I didn't even call you up here yet.
I don't want to keep you here any longer than this, sir.
Okay, why, it's not going to be icy till tomorrow afternoon. Okay, Mr. Lieberman.
Okay, several things have happened since we passed the last community improvement program for this year. The first one, the money that I was going to use for the engineering for the south wing was part of it was thrown into the kitchen, the capital. So I'm asking that several things take place with the revision, that we increase the money I was asking for from $25,000 to $30,000 for the consultant to do the design. This will not only take the south wing, but will take care of many other things in the rest of the area, such as all the bathrooms, the HVAC controls. Right now, even in the wing that was improved, air pressure controls the thermostats, and we have a lot of problem with them. We'd like to make them all electronic throughout the whole building. Lighting where necessary, and anything else that comes up, which I'm sure when we have our meetings, something will. Mr. Blake knows that. Also, I want to change I changed the project name from South Wing to just High Plains Community Center improvements. We also had an item called High Plains Parking Lot. I've changed it from parking lots municipal and thrown in a lot more money, just to allow us a little more flexibility, because I know there's some extra parking being considered.
They're measuring it out, so it's certainly being considered.
I know, well,
Surveyors are working on
This
it.
provides us a source for either some or all of the money.
Plus, I have a little left over in capital improvements. I
Well,
have some money.
We have, we just added another $1,000 to the money that's available in the capital, because the work at the library, the contractor came up with a solution that will save $1,100. So I figure every $1,100 is $1,100 to the better. So I'm asking you to approve this so that I can take the next step.
Question, Ed.
Yes, sir.
You have two categories here, street reconstruction, which I assume is the milling.
Yes.
And rebuilding.
Right.
And then you have street resurfacing, which is the oil and stone method. What's the trade-off between the two? In other words, are we still going to stay with the oil and stone, or does it depend on the utilization of the road, the traffic pattern, or what?
Yeah,
And
that's-
can you mill a road that has already been surfaced with stone?
You can, depending on how good the cross-section is. We thought we were going to lose the ability to chip seal, but so far it hasn't. The DEP hasn't clamped down on it. And if they did, the industry was looking at another process that would be similar to this. We're
Crazy
only,
glue.
Yeah, we're only doing the minor residential roads, like cul-de-sacs, dead-end roads, because any road that takes any traffic, the chip sealing is not holding up.
We're leaning more towards, you saw this year, we're pushing more towards mill and paves. We did Turkey Hill, we did Dogwood on 2 areas, we did Dogburn in a large area. This coming spring, we have a couple more that we're going to do. There's more mill and paves out there as I go along, because I
Yeah.
believe in that a little better than oil and stone.
Yes.
Yeah, when you looked at the tremendous appearance of those roads and the relatively low cost, I thought that we would probably be gravitating more towards
We are.
the
We
mill
will. We are.
than
If
the-
you-
than the stone.
If you went out there and watched those men work, like for the company that milled Turkey Hill Road. I was out there while the road was being cut and milled and all. It was, you watch those men move with that machinery. I mean, you can't beat that process. I'm sorry, you can't over.
It only took a couple of days, didn't
That's
it?
all.
2 days. One day they milled it from top to bottom or bottom to top, and one day to pave it.
Yeah, I mean, the oil and stone roads are not even usable for 2 days.
It's true. I mean, I'd be glad to do away with it and just go.
Well, we're
put all the money
slowly
into it.
phasing it out, I'm afraid. It's only good on very, very very low traffic areas, and even then, a lot of people are getting very unhappy with it because of the sharp stone, as opposed to, in the old days, we used to use a round stone that pushed into the oil better, and the sharp stone is not overly pleasant to some people, and so we're slowly phasing it. Okay, what is your pleasure, Lady Mitchell?
One question, you mentioned earlier in response to Mr. Klotz's question about the transfer station, that we, and I agree, that we need to do something down there.
That's not in here.
It's not in here at all for the
No.
next 5 years.
No, that's
So-
because that's in other construction that Ed has under his current budget that we're working on. It won't be
Okay.
5 years out.
Okay.
We'll be
There's
working.
something mentioned here on the first year, July 1st. In the
That's a-
first
that-
column, I
that's
see
a- that's a-
transfer station vehicle storage building.
That's a
That's
whole
different.
different thing.
That's a shed. That's a shed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a shed.
Some of this is a wish list on the, it keeps going on.
Some of
and
the
on.
things I tell him he's not getting. We'll build a pole building down there that'll probably work
I'll
just
move
fine.
approval of the plan.
Very good. Motion by Nastri, second by Okenquist. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none. You're getting that too, sir. I'll see you that in the spring. Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Unanimous. Very good. Okay, next one, Ed, is also you. Contracting for engineering service for the community center improvements.
Yes, that's the item that I just talked about, and Mr. McKay has been doing this work. He's very familiar with the building, he knows it inside out, and he is going to undertake the design of most of all the mechanical, plumbing, and lighting improvements. Windows are going to be something separate, because we have an architect that's done the window design for the wing that was improved, and he's done the one for the cafeteria and the kitchen, which is out to bid now, and
For windows.
for windows only. So we
Yeah.
keep the windows out of this, they can be added any time. And, but we'll have a number for those, and when Mr. McKay gets done with his design and comes up with a cost estimate, he's also going to come up with a plan to do this work in phases, so it doesn't, we won't spend $5 million all at one time.
Does this involve the pool at all?
No,
No.
No.
This is the wing that goes from the main intersection towards the kindergartens, to the south, that way.
and we're also going to, the bathrooms in that wing that was redone are still very old, and we're going to make some improvements there. And all the controls and all the air conditioning in the existing building and the new building will have this demand control, which works in the library, which is going in based on the number of people that are in the building or in a space. If one person's there, we'll only get the amount of air for one person.
If there's two and it doesn't work, one's in trouble.
That's right.
What's the status of your LoSiP funding?
I knew you were going to ask, and I forgot to look at it. We've got over $100,000 in the bank right now that we haven't used. It may be more. If you really want to know, I'll have the information, and you call Stacia, she'll have it for you tomorrow. I meant to have that here, but I forgot. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Okay. Contract for engineering design for the south wing at High Plains Community Center.
One more thing.
Oh.
I'd like the ability, because I think there may be some additional things when the committee starts meeting, if Mr. McKay says he needs extra money to do the additional things, to go to the 30,000. But that would be something that the High Plains Committee would vote upon. Right now, he's saying 27,500. He's saying 27,200. I'd like to take roughly 10%.
I'll make a motion for 27.2.
Okay. We'll come back to the.
Nice try, Ed.
Okay,
That's all. I keep it at that and
Okay.
then see where you are.
all right.
Mr.
the only one to vote in favor of that, so.
No, you
Yeah.
wouldn't.
All right, so we have a motion for Robert McKay to do for 27,200, design electrical, mechanical, plumbing improvements for, at High Plains Community Center. Motion by Nastry, second by Blake. Very good. All those in favor? Opposed, abstained, unanimous. Just as a sidebar to that, remember a month or so ago, we voted to spend 30-some-odd thousand for improvements at the library for energy-saving features. Girl called from the UI woman, Terry Eller, called, and she had to come in. I had to sign some papers, and I didn't know what we were signing. I thought she was bringing us another check for using the generator in the summer for off-peak power. And the UI is picking up 15,600 and change of that project at the library for energy cost savings of that 30-plus thousand. I signed the paperwork on that last week, so that was kind of a nice find, and hats off to the library committee, building committee members, and Mr. Ed over here for putting that together. That worked out very well.
That money that we would have spent will stay in the capital improvements program.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
A little
that's-
more from my
I
parking
didn't know
lot.
that, because I wondered, we met about a month ago.
I figured that, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ed. I think that's it for you, yes. Okay, this is, actually, Mitchell, this is what Judy was asking about this afternoon, at the COG luncheon. The Regional Performance Incentive Program, there's a couple resolutions here, one that Patrick has to, we empower him to sign, one that I sign. Page 3 of it was your explanation, or it started your explanation from COG. Did everybody get to review this? Do you have any, if you have no questions on it?
I just have one question on, it's all set up for all the area towns to join in as far as the
COG
money?
is Council of Governments, and it's a membership group that we belong to, that we all work jointly, and they administrate the funds for these type of projects. They do a lot with transportation and regional workforce, housing. They lobby in Hartford. They're a little different than CCM, but they're another group. Their offices are out in North Haven on Washington Avenue out there. Mitch is a past chairman of it.
So this is something that all of the towns are going to be joining in to get this website up?
Yeah, most of them, according to Judy today, have already passed their resolution within their community, and there's a few of us, our meetings are, this week and next week. Woodbridge and us are both tonight, so that we're both voting on it tonight. Yeah, this is a normal
Yeah,
thing.
I checked
with
out
council
Hartford's
governments.
website, and it was wonderful. I mean, it was very easy to, maneuver, and had a lot of information, so I think it would be
Yeah.
something definitely worthwhile for Orange to jump in on.
Okay, with that
Jim?
said,
I have a question.
yep,
Page,
page.
who knows? I don't know if they're numbered.
Well, they're probably not, but start with the cover page from COG and go from there.
2, 3, 4, page 4. The bottom paragraph says that each town will pay 1/15 the cost. My question is page 5? I'm sorry.
Well, I was on 4, okay.
It's the bottom paragraph. Instead of spending $126,000 per town for the first 21 months, each municipality pays 1/15 the cost. What, I was thinking that it probably would be fair if it was done by population, not by,
That's how they assess our dues. It is by population.
oh, it is by,
That's where they get the bulk of their money from for this particular part
I read
is
that.
driven, but our membership is driven by census.
Okay. That's not what it says here, though.
No, that's for this part, though, I'm just explaining to you,
Oh,
COG,
okay.
our
Right,
membership
right, the membership,
is
right.
by
Right,
population.
right. Okay, I mean, I'm just It was just a question on why we're paying the same as New Haven.
No,
Oh, is that right?
We're not paying
we're
anything.
not actually paying
Yeah.
anything.
All right.
The savings that
Yeah.
we'll get by
Yeah, it's a.
joining us.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's a cost benefit,
Okay.
all right? Any more questions? If not, do we have a motion on this?
Thank you, Joe. I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution on endorsing the web page,
Regional Performance Incentive
the
Program.
Regional Performance Incentive
Okay,
Program.
both A and B, the resolution of endorsement, and B, the certification.
Exactly.
Very good. Okay, motion by Williams, second by Goldblatt. You'll get it, you'll learn. You'll get it, it'll be fine. Is there any more discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. Unanimous, very good. Okay, number 5. Oh, it's over here. Number 5 is the Orange Derby Intermunicipal Agreement. Attorney Marino.
Okay, I'm bringing back to you the agreement that, I think I brought it first before you, in I think it was July, was the first time. And we were waiting for the Orange WPCA to render its final approval, and also for the developer and the city of Derby to finish their negotiations. I'm going to pass around what is in your copy on page 5. The impact fee has some blanks. There were some further discussions between the city and the developer, and what I'm passing to you is the result of those negotiations. Now, the impact fee really doesn't affect the town, because the town is a flow-through party to this agreement. The developer is paying 100% of the costs. The money will be paid to the town will then pay it to the city. There will be an agreement upon, assuming that this gets approved, between the town and the developer, obligating them. There's already an agreement between the WPCA and the developer, and their approval is contingent upon them paying all of these. But just in order to dot everything and cross everything, we'll have an actual formalized agreement should this be approved. And I'll take any questions if you have any questions.
That answered the one I was going to ask you about. It said Orange shall pay Derby one time $537,000 of payable to Derby.
Right.
And now you're telling me it's $661,000, right?
800, yeah.
Correct. Apparently, there's been a change or two over in Derby, and they sat down with the developer again and renegotiated that amount.
Okay, but my other question becomes am I to understand that the developer is going to pay the full $661,000?
Correct.
Okay, and how they agree on doing it, that's okay with me. And as long as we're on capital cost, the other thing I don't understand, Vincent, is on page 6. It says here, if Derby includes the cost of work performed in E2 and 3 under user charge, or the paragraph before it says if they want to include it as a benefit assessment. Can you quickly explain to me what those two options are and how they affect us if they decide to go with the user charge rate or the benefit assessment rate?
I did invite the chairman of the WPCA here, Mr. Kleppman. Not sure if you
was awake.
No. Yeah, you might be better, and I'll piggyback off of you.
What section of that?
It's page 6, Bob. I'm just.
Page
it says-
6, Bob, paragraph C,
4C?
basically the first line, if Derby includes the cost of work,
in
et cetera.
in E2 and E3, which we know what that is, above in a user charge rate, or if Derby decides to go at E2 and E3 with a benefit assessment rate. What, I don't know the the difference between, what's the two,
Right
why
now,
two choices there?
right now, Derby has everything in their user charge rate. They have told us that even capital improvements are in their user charge rate. I'm not sure that they have had any capital improvements in the recent past that would have been, been included in their user charge rate, but they may in the future have major capital improvements. If they do, they may elect not to put that in the user charge, but put it as a bonded cost, which would be
Spreads the debt out over a longer period of time as
Yeah.
far as the impact of service to pay it.
A benefit
It
assessment.
Yeah.
wouldn't be the user charge, and if it was not, a user charge and it was a capital expense bonded, let me read this here, sorry. Oh, yeah, the annual debt service, we would, let me think on this.
I should have called you on the phone.
Yeah, well, the payment of that would be covered differently. As far as our billing of our customers up in that area, in other words, we would assess. Normally, we, on assessments, we levy an assessment and our customers pay. And then we separately levy a user charge, which they pay. Like I say, Derby initially said that they throw everything into a user charge. If there's an assessment, the problem with that is that we're limited by statute to what we can assess. Such that if Derby, let's say, had a major capital improvement, did have it in the user charge, bill us in the user charge, we billed our customers up there as a user charge, somebody could, let's say one of the owners up there in the future could say, well, part of that is an assessment, and the statutes limit what you can assess us. And, I mean, if I was up there, I'd say, and probably the assessment is higher than what, you're allowed by statute to bill us, and I'm not going to pay it. So this way, if Derby does have a bonded cost, we're requiring them to tell us what that is, so we can levy an assessment separately from the user charge. I'm not sure if I'm making myself clear.
Well, the way I understand it is that they have the option of using it as putting the interest and debt payment as part of the user charge, or they can use it as a separate payment, because that's the distinction I get between paragraph B and C.
Right.
If Derby includes the cost of work performed above as a benefit assessment, then it says Orange has to get the interest and debt service payments separately. But it's either included as a user, or you pay it one way or the other, as a separate payment or in the user fee. That's all that says. It covers them both ways. That's all this does.
It's similar to West Haven when they did that big rebuild there, and
Right.
we had to pass on our share of it to the users of the system that
Yeah, it
goes
gives
to
them an
West Haven.
option of doing it one way or the other.
That's all it is.
B is saying, Tony, that we're looking for a breakdown. In other words, if they want to include it in their user charge to us, we want a breakdown of the capital so we can bill it out as an assessment as
It's a
opposed to
good
a
idea.
user charge.
It's a good idea.
And that's basically what I'm talking
And
about.
Bob, if I recall correctly, a lot of this came out from, Bob was involved with numerous direct discussions with the chairman of the WPCA of Derby, and a lot of this was because the way Orange would handle this on the Orange side normally would be by way of benefit assessment as opposed to user charge. Derby, however, handles it by way of user charge generally and incorporates things in its user charge. A benefit assessment is limited to the benefit to the property after sewers are there. I believe the benefit assessment on this property is about $2 million that the appraiser came to.
Yeah.
And the worst-case scenario that the engineers showed us for capital improvements, I think Orange's proportional share based upon this would be a few $100,000.
Right.
So there was substantial protection on Orange's side, to the extent, if they had something like a $10 or $20 million capital improvement with their WPCA plant. So what this does is, to the extent that Derby does not incorporate or roll their expenses into their user charge, but do it by way of benefit assessment, it gives Orange a different way of paying it.
Two options.
Two options, correct.
Okay. The other question, Bob, I wanted to ask you, I remember years ago when I was on the sewer authority with you, going back to Selectman Capisolatro, we had an agreement with the Boston Post Road that it would be for commercial only. That's the way the agreement read, with the exception when the federal government moved in on the housing over on the military housing. The contract read that it would be just for that purpose. And in here I see on page 2, is there any way that we can drop the word industrial waste? Or is that just a definition? Because it's under definitions, but I just feel a little comfortable if we just said, number 3, page 2, combined sewer shall mean a drain or sewer receiving stormwater runoff in addition to sanitary sewage and/or industrial waste. Any way we can
I think we can take that out. As a matter of fact, I think that was one of the comments of one of my commission members.
Yeah,
and I think this was missed.
Okay.
It had been.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just deleted it.
Yeah.
I'm sure Derby, again, from Derby's perspective, they wanted this connection to be limited, just like Orange, to this
Right.
property. So there's no expectation of an industrial waste being
Glad you picked
emitted.
that up, Joe. This was an oversight.
Okay.
Thank you for picking that up.
I think that is it. I hope that's it.
Who would be in charge of the billing?
On the Orange side, it would be the
WPCA.
WPCA. Yeah, we do all
WPCA.
the billing of, on the post road, and would do it up here.
The billing would also be included in, say, the job that John Van Arman does right now.
Well, he doesn't do the billing,
Well,
but
no, the billing, but his cost would be in there, right, Bob?
Yes.
And any expansion down the road, or like West Haven has to do, Orange will pay the share of a certain percentage, but the residents of that area will be the ones paying for it.
correct.
Okay, oh, good.
Mitchell?
Bob, piggybacking on those last couple of questions. So the town of Orange is going to assess the individual homeowners when the homes are built, and we'll put out 142 bills, or 143, probably one for the condo association as well.
It might be a billing to the association. I'm not quite sure how it's going to be billed, but it would be billed, if there are capital improvements on the Derby end that that flow down to us, we would bill that as assessment.
Okay, but I mean, just on a normal billing, whether it's monthly or quarterly, however you bill, bills will be sent, but those bills, like I said, to piggyback on Joe's question, will be in addition, there'll be excess charges above what we're owing Derby. In other words, to pay for our maintenance people, to pay for our
You mean
vehicle.
administrative costs?
Yeah,
We-
administrative
yeah,
costs,
we
yeah.
have- yeah.
Derby, there'll be user charges that Derby will be billing us,
No.
No, on top of what Derby charges us, are we charging administrative costs?
Yes.
Oh, yes,
To make
yes,
this,
yes.
to make this a
Yes,
neutral,
we do
a
that with
benefit
West
neutral,
Haven,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, same as we do
Cost
now
neutral, I should say.
with our other Seward area. There's a percentage figured in for administration of it.
Okay, and will this, do you think with this additional area lead now to a full-time person needed to assess the sewers?
No, I don't think so.
We're looking into other options there
It's
anyhow, because, well, why don't we tell them at this point, Mr. Van Arman has put in his notice for retirement.
Oh.
So we are exploring options in that area. I met with the WPCA representatives yesterday, and we're talking, we have to decide a couple issues in regards to that position, and this is the time to start to discuss that.
Okay, fair enough. And last question at this point, I have others, but I want to move on. Cost to the homeowner, any idea what the cost to the homeowner will be on a monthly or yearly basis? The people that purchase those homes?
Water-driven.
Derby's user charge, I think, is $150 a year. So that would be probably what they would bill us.
Okay, Jim just sparked another question for me. This is going to be water-driven based
Now,
on
yes.
what the individual homeowner's usage is, or is it going to be split right down
We
by
haven't-
142 ways?
We haven't really discussed that, but if it's going to be, if it will be at the same basis as the post road, it's on a gallonage basis.
Okay.
So right now, but this could change, I could visualize Derby billing us $150 per unit for 142 units. And then we may in turn disaggregate that on a gallonage basis.
And it
And
may-
bill the individual homeowners on a gallon. That's a possibility.
Or you could do like we do with Silverbrook, where it is the association, and then they handle it from there.
Yeah, it
down
could
at
be,
Silverbrook.
yeah.
That's their issue. Mitchell, what else?
I got one other question right now, but I was just questions, and then I'll address the whole issue. What happens, I asked this really of Attorney Marino, what happens if in the process of building this adult active community, the developer goes bust, decides not to proceed for whatever reason, the housing market's quite volatile, whatever reason, are we, the town, then liable? How's that work in this point?
Liable to what regard?
Liable in what we've promised Derby, I guess mostly in the upfront costs that the developer is promising Derby.
It's driven by the number of units.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
I think there are a number of issues there. One is, it's a hypothetical, I'm talking in the hypothetical. The approvals are all contingent upon certain things occurring. The WPCA approval is upon getting the zoning approval. Zoning approval is dependent upon it having sewers available, so it's dependent upon this agreement being in place. There are the what-ifs. If you look at the impact fee is payable, and the way that they've made it payable is at milestones, the milestones being the development of the property. The understanding between the city and the town is that the town is simply going to be a flow-through party. The agreement between the developer and the town will obligate the town, and what we, actually Bob, the Chairman Cleffman and I were talking about is requiring the developer to, because we actually debated and deliberated this question ourselves, well, what happens, because we want to make sure the town is protected, of saying, is there the ability to put something in place like a bond? Zoning had said, they want a bond in place to make sure that certain facilities are constructed, like the country club, of the clubhouse, things of that nature. What happens if they go out? So there are things that can be put in place between the town and the developer that could require that they put something up, to require that monies be put in place at certain milestones to limit the downside. But the reality is, since this is development driven, if the developer goes out of business after constructing 50%, by that point, 50% of this is going to have been paid. There's going to be nothing else done, presumably, until a new developer comes in, which would then step into the shoes of the present developer, since this inures to the benefit of the assignees and assigns and successors. So I think we're protected in that regard.
Right, thanks. In several directions.
Yeah.
Ralph, Tony?
I have a question. I don't know whether it's directed to Attorney Marino or Mr. Cleffman, but it's page 8, the paragraph number 3, second paragraph on the page. In the event that Derby fails to provide Orange with the capacity or service which is required under the agreement, Orange has legal and equitable remedies to perform, are available to it. My question is, what happens if the service is interrupted? What happens to the people that are living there if they don't have a sewer? And it takes months to go through the legal ramifications of providing the service.
I think, and
It's kind of a hypothetical thing,
right.
but
The chairman might best be able to explain it, to say, to the extent that there's an issue on the post road where a pipe breaks, or, because essentially what's going to happen is, it's not like there's going to be a turn-off switch where Derby is going to come to the town line and say, you know what, we're tired of accepting your flow, we're turning it
Yeah,
off.
I don't think the DEP or the health
It won't,
department would
it's
allow
not
that.
allowed.
Yeah, they're not going to, but I think the issue comes in, what if there's a pipe break? And the Derby simply kind of throws up their hands to our WPCA and says, we're broke, we don't have the money to fix it. You know, in that regard, then the Orange WPCA could come in and make the repair in all likelihood, and then turn around, and their legal remedy would be to claim under this provision that they failed to provide the service. They've taken the remedy, and then seek reimbursement through the legal.
I was thinking more of, you talk about a pipe break. If something happens between the development and Derby, a major pipe break or something, and it's gonna take a few days or so to fix, what happens with the sewer flow? I mean, everybody goes to a hotel for a couple
No,
days.
they had that situation not too long ago in West Haven.
West Haven.
Where the major, the major line that carries our flow broke. I mean, it just collapsed. They immediately, well, West Haven happens to have a repair contract. They let it every year. So they had a contractor who they could call immediately, and he immediately got in there and started a pump from one manhole to the other. Started his excavation, stayed on it 24 hours, a day till it was repaired.
And the reality is that the DEP is going to come down, and they're not going to allow that type of, contaminant to remain uncorrected for an extended period of
DEP
time.
is, for example, we had, not so long ago, we had 2 blockages on Carlson Road, and DEP was down there both times, and told us, John Van Orman, you have to fix this thing. And, we had to move pronto.
Tony?
They can't just stop they wouldn't block the pipe.
They can't.
No,
The
they can't-
effluent
they
would
can't do
flow
that.
through.
They can,
and
but it's not
and
legal.
it's downhill from there to the plant.
Yeah.
So it's not something that, there'd be if there was a blockage, that would have to be cleared.
A
But
blockage would be
the
one thing.
normal
I
flow would
don't-
be, and if there's a problem with the plant, they get permission to treat that water or allow it to go into the river until they treat
They
it.
wouldn't have any choice.
Yeah, they wouldn't have any choice.
They'd be fined probably,
Yeah.
if there was a,
All right. With all that said, is there a motion on this? Any more discussion?
Just put my mind at ease, Attorney Marino, that the total cost, if this is, the beginning is going to be by the developer, and any additional cost or user fee or basic fee, whatever you want to call it, strictly the people that will be living on that property are the ones that are going to pay any dollars that has to be.
Like Silverbrook, Joe.
Right, okay. Just want to get it on record.
I hear. With that, a motion to accept or reject, or
So moved to accept.
motion made? Seconded by Oakenquist. Any more discussion? Yes, Mitchell?
Just before you do,
Get
just the motion to accept with the correction on page 2?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Okay. Good. Yep. There is going to be a snowstorm tomorrow, though.
And we'd like,
Thank you, Dr. Mel. I will make it quick. I just want to let you know, it's probably no surprise to people at this table, that I will not be voting in favor of this. I feel that it is a potential problem for this community. I am very surprised that the WPCA and the other boards are allowing sanitary sewers in a residential district in the town of Orange. I just find it amazing, after years of serving on the different boards and commissions in this community, that we are even considering residential sewers. And my real concern is not for the 142 units. My concern is that this, in my opinion, and I hope I'm wrong, opens up Pandora's box. And there is enough acreage around this site on the south side of Route 34 and on the west side of Route 121 that is not already developed. and I really am concerned about a multifamily development coming in that we are not going to be able to stop once this agreement goes in. I know what Attorney Marino has said in the past. He doesn't need to repeat it about the safeguards that are in this, but I think that in light of the statutes that exist today, our zoning board is going to go and probably deny such a usage across the street on either side, and we will have absolutely no say in court and no leg to stand on once we approve this. And that's my major concern, and I think this is going to let the horse out of the barn, and that'll be the reason I am voting against this municipal agreement. Although the safeguards are within the agreement, after the questions have been asked, I'm okay with. It's the general concept that I am against, and I will vote against.
Mr.
I
Nastri,
think
you're...
that sanitary sewers are a plus for any residential community, as opposed to septic systems that throw effluent into the ground when many of us have wells, and and polluting the ground is not a plus to a system, it's a minus to a system. Sanitary systems are a plus for any community. It would have been great if Orange had sanitary systems throughout the whole community. It's just prohibited from a cost standpoint. But sanitary systems per se are a plus to any community.
And it is if I can respond, it is a plus to any community. If you're looking at Orange today to put in sanitary sewers, I agree. And the reason we don't have sanitary sewers is because we don't have lot sizes that look like the surrounding neighborhood towns around us that do. We don't have lot sizes like Derby. We don't have lot sizes like West Haven. We have lot sizes like Orange because we have septic systems. And if we had sanitary sewers when this town was built, our town, the way it is developed, would look like West Haven and Derby as far as the size of the lots, the closest to the homes. Orange is special. It is special because we don't have sewers, and I'm afraid we're going to change it, and it won't be as special as it is.
Well, there aren't sewers all throughout the town. There's only on the extremities of the town, and this development only applies to the extremities on the Derby border. So the issues you're bringing up, in my opinion, do not have merit.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to give a point of information in light of Mr. Goldblatt's position, and which I fully understand. However, my point of information is that it's not the charge of this board to vote for or in favor of sewers. That issue has already been settled by the WPCA. They are the body in town that covers sewers, and they voted to bring sewers in. The only issue for this commission to deliberate is the agreement before it. So voting, and again, I appreciate your position, but the vote against it on the basis that you don't want sewers there is not, in my view, a legitimate basis to vote against the agreement, because this agreement, the decision on bringing sewers in is settled. The issue is whether or not the agreement should be signed by the First Select.
I'd like to make a comment. The issue certainly has been one of controversy ever since it was proposed. My position on it is that it's been approved by the proper commission and boards. I'm not going to tell you that I'm completely happy with the project. I think personally it's high density, too many homes being there, and secondly speaking, I really would like to see the age limit would have gone to 62. I'm sorry, to 65 from 62. But I have to agree with the town attorney. I've struggled with this a while, not announcing to even my own party how I was going to vote on this, because I feel that all the commissions have done what they had to do and what they were elected to do. And I feel personally that the only obligation I have on this is to agree whether this contract in its entirety is going to work best for the people that are eventually going to build there. The cost of the homes seem to be a little on the high side, and I just hope anybody thinking of moving there realizes that the cost is going to be a lot more than just the purchase of a home. It's going to be the cost of a sewer, the cost of maintenance of a sewer, and conduit fees and all that. So if the public's looking, and I'm sure they are, take all that into consideration. But I feel my only obligation as elected official is to see and look and view the contract, and I might as well announce now that I will be voting for it.
Very good. I've supported this project. You all know that. I believe it offers an alternative type of living within our community. So many people that all of us know at this table have moved out of this community, looking to downsize, yet stay in the community. Never was this put out there as an affordable project or anything like that. It was an alternative housing available for people of the town. Some people are very interested in it, some aren't. I've read a lot of prices all over the board in the newspaper, and I've attended a lot of the meetings and heard the developer never state a price. What we've heard for prices was from in the very upper twos to the sky's the limit. You know, if you want to put linoleum and Formica in versus stone or terrazzo and tile or granite, you know, those are all things that will raise the cost of an individual unit, but we have no control over that. What we have control over in the town of Orange is offering an alternative type of living to our residents here and residents from beyond. Orange wasn't made up of people that were just born and raised here. I mean, you know, everybody at this table, there's two of us who were born and raised here. So, I mean, Orange is a melting pot, and it always has been, and it will continue to be. And I think that's one of our welcoming, inviting things about Orange. Not everybody who moves here is just people moving here for the education system with small children or to start a family. And I think we need to be aware of that. I hope a large percentage of it is used up by town residents and people here in town that seriously want to stay in the community, yet downsize, don't want to have the headaches of doing their leaves in the last few weeks with the ice, snow, and rain, or shoveling, or paying somebody to do this work in their own yard, whereas they do it as a community thing. They're already paying for it at their own house. This way, they're still paying for it. They've planned for that. Yet they get a new home, downsized, one-level living, presumably. Some of them do have lofts and all. There are, at the zoning meeting that was right after the election, I think there's 3 types. I believe there's attached condos, there were individual freestanding homes, and there were duplexes, I believe, is what they're looking at, that look like large homes that are split in half. So there are many varied alternatives. It's not going to look like the same facility from lot 1 to lot 100. I mean, I think this, as Orange moves forward, is something that needs to be considered. Do I think you should inundate the town with this type of housing? Absolutely not. But it's nice to be able to offer the full alternative to people who have lived here and raised their families here and wish to stay here. And I will be voting for it.
Jim, one other comment. I looked at the statistics of the in the voting list. There are 4,200 people in voters that are age 55 or older. If you want to divide it in half for couples, you know, it's over 2,000 people in Orange that are 55 or older. I'm addressing Joe's point of 65. With 4,000 or over 2,000 couples that are 55 or older, I think the audience for this type of housing is very large in Orange. And 142 units for 2,000 eligible couples, I don't think is, that's quite a marketing base to sell these condos. And I think that with that large elderly population, this housing is completely in order.
Very good. With all that said, we have a motion to approve. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Those abstain? 5-1. You broke my streak, Mitch. We've been doing unanimouses. Okay, go to the second page of your agenda. Committees. High Plains Community Center renovations. I don't know, we've kind of worked that over tonight
The only
already.
thing that was not mentioned, if you saw the New Haven Register, the bids are out for the windows for the cafeteria and the
Senior,
And
the kitchen
and
and
the
the
kitchen and the
cafeteria.
cafeteria. Other than that, I think we covered the renovations, including the 5-year plan.
I think so. Pension Board, Selectman Nastri.
For those members of the community that want to flock to the pension board meetings, the meeting schedule is, for next year, is February 21st, May 15th, August 21st, and November 20th. Our last meeting was November 15th. We reviewed the performance of the pension portfolio through the third quarter. There are some minor changes in the projections, but the portfolio is well-balanced, and it's performing on target.
Very good. Capital Planning, Selectman Okenquist.
We had a meeting on November 29th, and we had a total of approximately $1.1 million in proposed projects for a $400,000 budget. So we have our work cut out for us, and we're looking at some alternatives for some of the projects other than the capital plan, and we're looking at some potential state grants to support some of the recreation areas. So we'll probably be meeting again right after the first of the year. We're waiting on some information from some people in the Park and Recreation Department. So hopefully we'll be meeting again probably the first or second week in January.
Very good. Personnel, Selectman Blake or Okenquist. Did you give them the unapproved minutes that you had that today? All right, that would have helped. That's all right.
We had a personnel committee meeting 2 days ago, and there were 3 items on the agenda. One item had no result. The first of the other 2 items was to consider an act on the adjusting the salary of the part-time custodian at the library. This employee has been an active town employee on a part-time basis for about 20 years, and he's non-union and about $1.50 under the other people in that same category. And the head librarian requested a change in the salary to make it adjustable or more equitable with the other people. And so I would like to make a motion that we increase the salary for the custodian at the library from $12.36 an hour to $13.87 an hour.
This, before we get that, this one was done. This man has been there over 20 years, and evidently he slipped through the cracks a couple times here in the pay raises. I don't know quite how or why, but he has been here, and he's a long-term. I mean, we have other part-time employees that have not been here, near as long, so they are a little bit lower in the pay scale. But he has been here as long as some others, yet he was somehow missed a couple times, and so that's what that's all about. So with that, we need a motion.
Jim, I made the motion, but I also like to point out that he is a person who comes in when absolutely needed, whether it's a Saturday or a Sunday or in the evening. If something is going on at the library and things need to be cleaned up for it, he will come in regardless of when it is, and he will clean up afterward regardless of when it is. So he's been a tremendously good employee for the town.
Very good.
I'm not quite sure, did you say it, or if I got the different employee here, retroactive?
You're right. It's retro to July 1st.
Yes,
Did you mention that? I'm not sure.
Just the motion to make it retroactive to July 1st.
Microphone, Ralph.
Okay, I'll make this retroactive to July 1st. This was submitted to First Selectmen back in the beginning of August, and we just haven't had a meeting since that time.
Hasn't been anything. Do we have a second?
A second.
Thank you very much. Is there any more discussion on that?
You can say it.
He was salivating. Kate, I hope you're watching.
Joe just took another candy.
That was my dinner.
You can't help it. It's Irish looking there with it. It matches your shirt, sir, Here.
He'll take that one too.
Here.
Keep it over there.
With that said, do we have a second on that? All those in favor? Opposed, abstained, unanimous, very good. Oh, you in trouble.
Now
There
take
was
the
a
other
sec-
ones out of your pocket, too.
There was a second item?
There was a
there?
there was a second item, and that was proposed by the director.
Two, actually.
Director of OVNA. There were two items, I'm sorry. First one is regarding a change in the home visit fee from $35 to $38. I'm sorry, the rate of pay, not the fee. The rate of pay for nurses from $35 to $38 per visit. And this is basically to cover administrative costs that the nurses have to perform, and they're spending a lot of time doing it, and we felt that they should be given a $3 raise.
The current rate there is at $38. What Joanne Davis has done, for any of those of you who have met her, she's shifted a lot of our employees that were on a per diem or per call daily, and they shifted, instead of being on an hourly rate sitting in the office, they are paid on a per call rate of 30, now if this approves, of $38 per call. And they seem to like it. It works out better for them. Kind of hand in hand with this, our patient count is up to 64 patients at this time. When she took over, our patient count, I believe she said, was 42. And so as the patient count grows, so does their income, and this is all part of insurance-driven as well. I mean, it's good for us and good for them as well this way. And they are, very happy with going this route. So with that said, Ralph, that's a motion.
Motion to that effect.
Is there a second on that? Mr. Blake, second on that. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. There's one
The
more.
second item that Joanne presented was a change in the recertification costs from $38 to $50. And this recertification is a Medicare requirement, and what it does is after 60 days, the patient has to go through a recertification for Medicare to pay. And it's a very time-consuming activity, and she asked that the rate be raised to cover the cost. It takes a few hours every time they have to go through this, and she felt that it was the best thing to do, because she has been saving money in a lot of the other areas in OVNA, and this will not affect her budget at all. In fact, she's still running below the budget based upon the amount of revenue we're taking in since she took over.
Revenue is way up and expenses way down by structuring it this way. And she's worked very hard at this, and this triggers, like Ralph said, every 60 days. They have to do a new I don't know if you call it, we called it a recertification, but it's an assessment. And if you recall, earlier we upped the assessment. It was $75 for quite a long time when a patient first comes onto line with OVNA. And we were paying that for quite a few years. And we upped that $5 for the initial assessment to $80. And this is a lot like that initial assessment, but not quite as deep, because a lot of the information is already in the computer from the first, but yet it requires a lot more time than a normal home visit for treatment, wound dressings, or anything like that. So on that, she wanted to up that from the 38 to or 35 to 50, and we went along with that. And there again, it's all insurance driven, and she explained to well, there was Pam, Joe, Ralph, myself, and she explained how this is all comes back. And on that 50, I think we're reimbursed like 86 or 106, it was, something like that.
86, I think, was it.
So, I mean, everything she does is very well figured. And things are going very well there. Like I said, you're up to 64 patients at this time, and she has a study done, and she's been meeting with the outplacement planners from the discharge planners and all, and she intends to keep building. It's very good.
So I'll make that a motion.
That's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Very good. Any more discussion on that one? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Unanimous. Very good. With that said, that was the last item under public session. I'll take a motion to go into executive session at 9:06. Do you want a 5-minute break at this time?
5-minute break.
All right, we will go into executive session at 9:06.
Who's
being
invited into executive session?
The only one, I will leave executive session since it's a discussion about property that I am the adjacent property owner. Attorney Marino will be with you, and Attorney DeRosa will be with you. That's it, I guess. All right, with that, we're, that's fine. We are back in regular session. The board came out of executive session at about 10:12, and we are now back in open session at 10:14, and I have rejoined the meeting. Is there anything to discuss from executive session that we need to take action on?
No action taken.
Very good. With that said, at 10:15, Mrs. Williams, you have anything to say?
Yes, I do. I would love to make a motion for adjournment.
With that said, and with that said, I wish everybody a happy and healthy holiday season, whether Hanukkah, Christmas, or whatever else you may choose to celebrate, and all of you, a happy and healthy holiday season, and we are adjourned at 10:15.